Map exclusive creatures, arguably a bigger draw to any new map than the maps themselves, and wondering what about them made them so enticing to download an entirely new DLC to tame, we ran a poll, and here they are. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share around, and let's get into it. So in at number 10 is the Karkinos. Arriving with Aberration and later reintroduced to almost every map that followed. It's no secret it changed the grind game dramatically once learned how to use and became a mainstay feature creature, despite perhaps later farming creatures superseding it. Traditionally tamed with catapults or cannons for more daring survivors and easily immobilized with a net gun nowadays, its unique form of travel and dual-wielding claws offered a jack-of-all Swiss Army tank and an absolute necessity for at least the map it arrived on. With an inherently high weight stat and the ability to pick up 2 creatures could find you combining it with any farming creatures, more commonly Ankies, and literally plough through the metal-rich blue zone like, well, a plough. Throw in the ability to launch anything sky high, a lack of oxygen stat and ignored by most sea creatures, allowing safe undersea travel, immunity to radiation, and a 20% damage reduction to bullets, combined with a Stego squad to make a stronger soaker and able to turn in an instant and jump incredible heights. It's a clear early choice to want to run to any map to tame these. In at number 9 is the Fjordhawk. A huge draw to an already desired map. The Second Life edition arrived with Fjorda to rewarding response, invaluable for both PvE and PvP, and taking the top spot for shoulder pets, at least for a short time after its arrival. Easier on paper than it seems to tame, though simply summarised as ensuring you get one on its own and a few sheep sacrificed for the pesky bird to snack on. It turns out, in a game that warrants death after death, an insurance policy pet is the know-how for a Nordic narrative. Retrieving your item bag upon death and flying it to your next spawn location means items lost in the wilderness become much less of a worry. Able to do so with bed transferring too, allowing incredible amounts to be farmed at once and sent to your desired location with each. Though since nerfed a tad unofficial with a detection ability for hurt players nearby too, it's still by far a perfect reason to jump on the Viking themed map to tame one. In at number 8 is the Denalicus. A regular with many top 10s, the feathery raptor took some time to acclaim status following its arrival with Valguero, later fittingly dropped to the other map by the same maker, Fjorda. It offered much more than met the eye. An easy early tame ode to simply stealing an egg and raising 2 adult, once grown and saddled offered a highly maneuverable creature with a high speed and stamina base stat, able to charge a jump into a mini glide to leap distances, scale any vertical surface and without a worry of taking any fall damage at all. Able to pounce onto many large creatures to sink their teeth into, their best ability shines through its bleed damage. Draining 0.3% of any victim's health over 7 seconds, whilst other bleed dinos do exist, this is the only one able to inflict the damage on bosses, meaning percentage damage dealing guardians themselves, like the incredibly hard dragon, become a much easier affair. Even more so with several in tow, possessing a pack buff screech, boosting movement, speed, damage and resistance to each. Being one of the very few extraordinary kibble makers on top 2, and you've got a major draw to either of its creators' maps. In at number 7 is the Magmasaur. Famed to be an even mightier metal farmer than most, its introduction with Genesis Part 1 made it a rewarding one to claim, at home in its brutal depth of solace within an active volcano. Later made a little easier with Fjorda and especially Lost Island. All it needed was to grab an egg, whilst avoiding the hurling fireballs of death, and then leveling to 95 to saddle, or attempting to find a BP, but once set, a worthy entry for any tribe. With a very high health, Pull allows it to tank whilst taunting with its AoE to aggro creatures, and keep the health topped up easy with Ambergris. Launching flame-dealing fireballs can see sizable metal bases smelted to nothing, with a hard-hitting claw that can deal massive damage to even rock elementals. And with the same swipe, allowing the Sharoof to mine incredible amounts of metal in seconds, and with a 75% weight reduction and ability to smelt on the move, crowned this to be a desired metal grinder, not least to access any areas unreachable across lava, being immune to both that and fire breath, protecting the rider in the process, with it being a great stone and oil collector to boot, the latter generated if stood in a flame geyser. All around a hot farming companion that's equally feared by most, and probably easier to get on other maps than its initial launch. In at number 6 is the Sinomacrops. Whilst not met to a resounding audience when first pitched, the Lost Island exclusive took the shoulders by storm. A tech-free flying suit to cater for all would-be travellers. Simple enough to tame through passive feeds of chitin, a fairly leveled one in stamina, and weight becomes the ultimate living jetpack, able to fly your survivor up into the air and switch into a glider when required, and naturally parachute, leaving fall damage as a thing in the past. On top, it boasts a 50% weight reduction, with a weight-leveled Sinnoh becoming incredibly handy for transporting goods, and not forgetting a scare ability to keep those annoying seagulls and pegos finally at bay. Ask anyone what their first exclusive tame was on Lost Island, and you'll be hard-pressed to find anything else mentioned. In at number 5 is the Desmodus. Middle of the field, in my opinion, deserving of number 1. The Fjorda exclusive came in as a huge surprise to all survivors, new and old, owed to a few almost broken mechanics that find 2015 players crying themselves to sleep. Tamed through sucking your blood, but effectively by sucking someone else's blood first, and recommended to get a low level first to get even more blood, the mini vampire does exactly that once tamed, producing blood packs with each attack, and once attaining 200, allowing a sanguine elixir to be crafted, a frankly OP time-saving item to either tame anything by 30% or imprint anything by 30% when drunk in proximity. The community voted creature could also grab smaller creatures with its legs and literally suck the life out of them, and detect many through an echolocation pulse, inflicting a 20% damage increase to anything highlighted at night, during which it can enter into night vision to detect further or render itself invisible, vanishing into thin air for the duration of the night and preventing detection, which, when combined with its phenomenal ability to fly in any cave, something no other flyer could do before, allows you to flap all the way through to the end with absolute ease and fly straight back out, pinning another Fjorda win on the list. In at number 4 is the Rock Drake. A fan favourite for sure in both aesthetics and ability, up until Fjorda remained to be one of the biggest reasons to still play Aberration, despite some preparations needed to get one, or perhaps that was the beauty of getting one. Deep within the hazardous cracks of Aberration we'll find areas overrun with drakes and eggs to steal, run like the wind, and raise in the comfy aircon Jenga puzzles you've made. And once adult offers a multi-terrain, land to sea to air creature for all weathers. Still being the go-to transport for Aberration, a ridden drake allows you to glide from cliff edge to cliff edge, launch at any surface, and scale any climb with ease. And with a decent oxygen stat, swim through any ocean at relative speed. And with a high weight stat and top tier bite comes a great cargo hauler for most challenges, and any other challenges it can simply bypass by turning invisible and undetected, an absolute must for one particular artifact cave. Throw in its unique ability to detect reapers and being able to carry another player as well as shoot from, it's still perhaps one of the most map unique creatures to exist, despite being a little easier to get on Fjorda. In at number 3 is the Wyvern, the original and first DLC exclusive creature to arrive to ARK, where everybody wanted one and everybody else became afraid of. The introduction of Wyvern certainly shifted the gameplay drastically, being big hulking winged beasts of the sky, and has become since the most varied creature you can get, with a variety of flavours across different maps, all with their own elemental destruction. Traditionally were egg stealers, though later versions would find passive crystal taming or button bashing buckaroo. Their sky owning privileges still makes them a worthy entry for most survivors. Need some wood or thatch? It's a flap away. Need to unearth any enemy reaper? Another flap away, and of course, deal whopping damage from range, its main event, still being a go-to tool for Titan hunting or Giga countering. And despite its origin of launching with Scorched Earth, it's a doubt you'll likely go there and opt for one of the many other better spawn maps since launched. In at number 2 is the Maywing. Ah yes, it's good to see channel favourite milkers up here, and deservedly so. I still firmly believe this to be the best flyer in the game, and it doesn't even fly. Launched with Genesis Part 2, though can too be found on Tames R Us Fjorda, the milk-teated glider is a relatively simple tame, owed to incredibly low torpor and net guns, and once saddled and mastered can see you spanning entire maps at Mach 5 speeds. With an underestimated harvesting ability on top to stack up on berries with a 50% weight reduction and fibre, and naturally to get around the map, weight is your friendly stat, with a great base stamina to see you nimble even through the water to get your babies to safety, because that is meant to be its primary role, holding up to 4 baby creatures of your choice, allowing the smallest space for even the largest of creatures, whom you can still write off enemy tribes if choosing to, acting as a trough to keep them fed right from its teat. Lest we forget, a random egg of choice to make all tiers of kibble. No player should be without a milkers in their life, and there's plenty to find on its home map. But there's something else you prefer even more to find, and before we get to that, let's take a quick look at the creatures that didn't just make the cut. And here it is, in at number 1, the Shadow Mane, winning another top 10, but noteworthy of around 30,000 votes, comes in the Gen 2 Golden Globe multi-platinum map exclusive creature that now too can be found on another map. Still one of the more frustrating tames about, requiring passive feeds from fish in fish baskets without startling it or anything else startling it before having to repeat the process over and over and over again. Once a decent breed pair is in possession, it's highly worth pumping out those cubs to wield a powerhouse pack. Not requiring a saddle to be ridden, with a base armor stat reflective of level capped at 80, it moves as quick as, well, a lion, able to pounce into the air and scale incredible heights, before diving into the blue where it's just at home too, swimming at great speeds to get you where you need to be. Dealing reflective damage to anything that barely breathes on it, able to stack to nerf their attacks by 50%, the Lionfish Lion can bite back and bite back much harder once charging its combo bar, dealing 4 times the damage before allowing you to warp strike through 7 targets at once, stunning them and dismounting any survivors, dealing even more damage with a hydration buff on top for increased speed, health regen and damage, and that's before we even meet the pack buffs. Whilst any Shadow Mane can render itself invisible if in a mate pair or more, the female can roar to turn all allies invisible within 20 meters, and the male can roar to boost allies with stamina and torpor recovery, speed increase, Thorn Mail poison doubling, and an extra damage buff to the roaring Shadow Mane, stacking it all to be why it's your #1 vote. But was it your vote? Comment below, let me know what more top 10s would you like to see in the future. My name's Raasclark. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and as always, peace out.